Yeah, is the rats deck, Ren. Yeah, yep, the gross one. Wait, no, I didn't mean to make a gross deck without telling. I'm sorry. Hello? I just lost my last friend with red hair. Will you be my friend? How does a camera even walk?
Ren the Relentless. For 2 blue black, you get a 3/4 legendary creature rat rogue with ward 2 that says, if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of each end step, create X11 black rat creature tokens with this creature gets +1/+1 for each other rat you control, where X is the number of creatures your opponents controlled that were exiled this turn.
If you have an issue with too many people want to play Magic with you, I guess this is a good solution for you, because guess what? It'll fix it. You don't need to have to play any games with anybody, because nobody wants to play with you anymore, because this deck is just that gross. Our strategy is pretty linear here. You want to do one thing and one thing only. Kill. 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 The best part about playing Magic is playing creatures and getting to swing in, have fun, a little bit of banter back and forth. This deck doesn't allow any of that to happen. There's any number of ways that this deck has that can take a creature that somebody's played and turn it into a nothing. Some of those things are targeted removal. Not a lot of it is exile, but Vren doesn't also care if it's us that does the exiling or his replacement effect that does the exiling. As long as a creature is exiled by the time we hit end of turn, anybody's turn, we get those rats. And even though Vren doesn't care how we exile these things, I do care if you would throw me a subscription. I really do like those numbers going up, and honestly, y'all have been really supportive. So, thank you. Please subscribe. Thanks. But anyway, these rats are seriously no joke. They get a lot bigger. It's your relentless rats in a commander body, which is a great thing for us if we plan to make a lot of creatures go extinct. Which, don't worry, we do. The rats get big, and I mean like big, big. After a few rounds of making some bodies unidentifiable, you'll have an unstoppable army that frankly they just won't have the blockers to take care of. It's all by design. So what is our modus operandi for these murders? MO for short. But we're gonna hire some fellow fellers, some contract killers. We're gonna put them on our payroll to pick off your opponent's pettiest persons and populate the rodents you produce as a product of something like Plaguecrafter's potent power. Ooh, that's a lot of peas.
Plaguecrafter. For 2 1 to black, you get a 3/2 creature human shaman that says when Plaguecrafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card.
Look, these edict effects are really good. These are the things that they enter and they make everybody sacrifice a creature. Normally that's just good enough on its own. It's annoying for people that don't have a lot of creatures to sacrifice. We sought to sacrifice a creature though, not a big deal. Turns out we can sacrifice the thing that just entered, because Plaguecrafter is a creature. And we don't have our creatures get exiled because we're cool. So just in general, having these things enter the battlefield, forcing everyone to sacrifice things is what usually we do call edict effects. This deck has a ton of them. These range from things like Fleshbag Marauder, Merciless Execution, to like Butcher of Malakir and Tithing Blade. It doesn't necessarily need to be a creature, and it doesn't necessarily need to happen on ETB. Sometimes people don't like it because you have your Butcher of Malakir, and then a Merciless Executioner enters, and then everybody has to sacrifice 2 things to your 1, and theirs still get exiled, because we're not playing with fun here. We're playing with hate. The goal here generally is we want to get people to kill their own things without it being too harsh. I know, weird that I say it that way. They can at least choose their least impactful creatures when it happens, which is why I say tokens are the best. You should play tokens. Now these edict effects don't cost that much. The cheapest is about 2 mana. That's a Cursed Marauder. And we get to take 3, I want to make a note. I know Cursed Marauder says non-token. I know I talked about token decks. It's kind of a jerk move. Because you gotta imagine somebody sitting there thinking it's just like, oh, I'm safe. I'm running tokens. Edicts don't affect me. And then it's like, hey, you know that non-token thing that you really needed? Sorry. Gone forever. You join the rest of them in the permanent timeout pile. This whole deck really just kind of oozes evil, like an oozy rat in a sanitary zoo. But again, every single time we play one of these things, we keep getting rid of their blockers, like permanently. And then we get to make rats equal to the number of blockers we just eradicated. That's just more and more creatures on our side and less on theirs. Meaning, by design, we don't want friends. It's kind of inevitable. But the thing is, token decks do exist, and we can't just let everyone start having a bad time except the token player. So we need to put them in the bad time corner as well. You want to be the only one having a good time. So let's do some targeted removal with things like Feed the Swarm.
Feed the Swarm. For 1 and a black, you get a sorcery that says destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost.
It can hit enchantments, but we really like that creature removal aspect of it too. Removing the thing that they thought they could keep because they kept getting other creatures out totally makes people happy. And remember, if red is still out when we destroy a creature, it's exiled instead of getting put to the grave. So if they cared about that, look, that's not all. Vren isn't necessarily necessary to do the stuff as well. We run things like Curse of the Swine. That turns all their creatures into little pigs that go wee. It actually kind of turns out super beneficial for us because we want more creatures on their field whether or not they're tokens. Pigs work, we can kill the pigs, let's get them exiled. And the Mutineer can erase some amazing targets and then replace them with 4/3 Salamanders. It's even better in my opinion that they get replaced with the creature because just like the boars, you want there to be creatures left over. You want to be able to have something else to kill that they can sacrifice that doesn't feel as bad because otherwise you just win by them scooping. And the best part about Infant Mutineer is that you can encore it from the grave, meaning you get a copy for each opponent and that ability can target anything. So if somebody has 3 really scary creatures, you can go bah, 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 and get rid of all 3 of them because they didn't negotiate a ceasefire. Who are you to follow any conventions? And I mean, Encore is an amazing effect to have, especially with this many creatures in the graveyard. It's a shame that Spencer doesn't like me anymore, but like, Arami is probably one of the best cards that you can have in this deck.
Arami? You're a monster! How dare you sully her name?
You trapped me in a hole, burned a continent alive. I could feel the melting flesh of your victims, and I'm the monster for mentioning Arami. What?
You see, Arami works in fun ways. All you have to do is exile cards equal to the number of opponents you have and then choose one of the creatures that have an edict effect in your graveyard. For example, let's say that you have 3 opponents and you'd exile 3 other cards because 3 opponents. Choose something like Fleshbag Marauder. Then you'll exile the Fleshbag after paying 2 and a black and get 3 copies of it, meaning you would then have to sacrifice 3 creatures, but so does everyone else. And unlike you, they don't have some token copies that they can sacrifice. And this deck is chock full of effects just like this on creature bodies. So Arami gets some really good work going.
Ah well, whatever. It's time to make like Johann Liebert and stand alone on this barren earth. Time to close out the game. Let's do it, shall we?
Dragon Throne of Tarkir. For 4 mana, you get a legendary artifact equipment that says equipped creature has defender, and it'll gain the ability of 2. Tap. Other creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X into end of turn where X is this creature's power. You can equip this artifact for 3 mana.
This is one of the best cards that we can get. The ability grants trample. That's kind of the missing key here. It's very difficult to come across anything in budget in dimir that grants trample. So when we tap one of these rats, it just means lights out for an opponent. Maybe even 3. This snowballs. There's not much they can do. You've been on the fast track since the start of the game of converting their hard-earned friends into raw rat power. They can't really do much when you try and continue to ruin their day with Piper of the Swarm. Give everything menace. Why not? Really fun thing to do to people that are trying to just survive. Plus, you could sacrifice 3 rats to carry away one of their creatures, like permanently. And the thought of your 3 big rats approaching them just like, you coming with us, punk? Heard you're making some pretty good cheese lately, huh? Yeah, and this is the best costume we could come up with for rats. Really? We're trying to intimidate this guy and you tell us that we're not really rats. You gotta take this seriously. And while Piper of the Swarm is a very nice card to have, there's not many other rat shenanigans that we can pull off with this deck because we don't have the ability to have death triggers. So that's fun. And also we don't have the budget to run some of the rats because they're just like uber expensive. Except for Marinar. I fit that one in there. Got the Cranko for rats. But we can, however, just steal an opponent's creature. Give them a taste of what we can do when we're motivated, and watch as the creature they thought was safe is now whisked away by a bunch of little rats. Ingeborg's Wake is mean, so do it. This one kind of means, though, that we just win the game and get to swing with whatever we want. The only downside, very genuinely being, spell costs 9 mana. We're not in green, that's kind of a lot. Or we could just cast Yehenni's Expertise. We get to wipe everything that's 3 toughness or less. And since our commander is a 3/4, they won't inherently die to this either. I've tried a lot of different types of effects with this deck, a lot of different board wipes. Languish is a bit much, because you kill 1 rat, the rest tumble. All of these things, like board wipes, especially the one-sided ones, give us opportunities to clean up the little spots that we missed on our board. That being said, this deck costs around 28 bucks. It's a fluctuating price, but I try and build these to be under 30 bucks so that when you do buy it, eventually it even ships for about the price of a pre-con. If things get too expensive too quickly, I mean, I'll replace it with other good stuff. We'll see. Plus, you guys make great suggestions in the comments, so go ahead and let me know what you have for ideas in this deck. I have plenty of counter magic as well. See how it runs? Have any suggestions? Let me know. Rats can be fun and rats can be gross, but the budget rats like this one, really gross.
Let's give a super shout out to the joke tier members like Picard001. They donate counterspells to little blue wizards in need. That's just how kind they are. And then we'll talk about our higher power members like Jennifer Griffith, Devin Spooner, Filthy Casual, Ezavor, A-Train, and Angela Ryder. I truly cannot do this without all of your support. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.